Yeah, that works. All right, let's go. Let's get this fired up. Let's talk about this Euro trip, baby.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, thanks for joining in on the conversation. Just figured we'd chat it up about this Euro video. It's going to come out on the Grab Matters Patreon, and then I think it'll be released into the interwebs probably like March, maybe early April. I'll post it up on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I've sent you a pretty much completed draft, and if you're interested in watching it, it'll be on the Grab Matters Patreon. If you're watching on my YouTube, you can go ahead and check out grabmatters.com. It'll be linked in the description. If you don't know, you're blowing it. Really good podcast by my buddy Hunter, that's who's in this chat, and you're going to be able to watch the full like 17, 18-minute video from me and Jake's Euro trip.
Okay, sick. I was going to ask how long, 17, 18-ish minutes. So.
Yeah. We're going to keep the credits brief, but everything else is done, and it's like 17, so yeah.
Okay, I love it. I guess I got a couple questions to start off, I feel like, to get rolling on it. What sparked the trip to Europe for you and Jake?
Yeah, so Wakeboard Street Jam, if you don't know, it's a winch event that went down in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, this summer. Jake got one of like the first invites on the initial list. He was like one of the first invited riders. And I always thought it was really cool. It's inspired by like some skateboard and snowboard contests that do like street style jams. And I definitely wanted to go like right away. So right when I saw that list get dropped, I was like, Jake, you absolutely need to go. Like buy your plane ticket right now. Neither of us had ever been to Europe. I was not on the list. So I hit up the Instagram and was like, yo, what's up guys? Like, I'd like to put my name in the hat here. Like, I'd kind of like to go and ride. And they're like, dude, you're riding sick. Your footage is cool. Like, we'll let you know if anything changes. And I was like, right on, and just kind of sat on it. No biggie. Like a month or two before the contest, I hadn't heard anything. Jake finally bought a plane ticket. Yeah, I was like, hell yeah, Jake, like good stuff. The kind of all summer I was telling him like, dude, you have to go. You have to buy a plane ticket. Like one, it'll help out whatever potential wakeboard career might be there for you. And even if it doesn't, you'll still like have a sick trip, go to Europe, have fun, get to explore. Like there's just no way to lose there. And then, yeah, maybe like a month before, I was actually listening to a Bombhole episode. I was listening to Cuban Lou's. Bombhole, cool snowboard podcast. Cuban Lou, just like cool filmmaker. But I was just really like fired up and inspired. He was just like doing what he needed to get it done. Like he kind of came into snowboarding as like a nobody and just like walked up the hill not knowing how to snowboard and started filming people, which like if you don't know how like a snowboard or like board sports dynamic works with like kind of cool guys and like clique culture, like anything else, like
very much so on the hill. Yeah.
That is crazy intimidating. But his kind of like whole story and like vibe just really inspired me, and I was just really fired up. And just like right then I was like, all right, I'm going to Europe. Like fuck it, like I have enough money. I recently totaled my car. So I had the insurance check from that, and I was like, fuck it, I don't really need a car. I'll just go to Europe instead. So I hit up Jake, asked him for his flights, and talking to him later, he kind of like rolled his eyes and was like, oh, like he's not going to go. And I just bought the tickets that night, just the same tickets as Jake, and was like, all right, we're going to Europe. Like I had no plan. Nobody had told me that I could like ride or stay in the accommodations once I got to Street Jam. But it's a pretty tight community. I figured it would work out. And like worst case scenario, I could have slept in someone's van or bought a hotel room. But basically, I was going either way.
Dude, and that is the sick thing about wakeboarding. It's like, I mean, all board sport cultures, like they aren't huge, but snowboarding and skating are huge and surfing compared to wakeboarding. So like, even if you have a decent sized resume in wakeboarding, pretty much everybody in the industry who's like in the know probably has an idea of who you are. So like, you can totally go over and do that, introduce yourself. And you're like, oh, Dylan's here. Jake's here. Like, I mean, let's fucking go. Like, it's not, you didn't need to be invited to go and make something out of it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, for sure. So once I booked the ticket, I hit up the Instagram again and was like, what's up, guys? Oh, and I started the YouTube channel like a week or two before I booked the ticket. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get so much sick content. Yeah.
Double angle Dill on the YouTube, baby.
Double angle Dill, firing it up. So yeah, I hit up the Wakeboard Street Jam Instagram and was like, yo, guys, I'm coming with Jake. If I could ride, that'd be sick, but I'm going to be like there hanging out, and I'd love to help out with like the media crew. If maybe I can do that in return for accommodations, that'd be cool. And then like a couple hours later, Terry Bailey got back to me, and I had no idea that Terry had any involvement with the Wakeboard Street Jam. And I don't think anyone really did. Jake definitely didn't up until then. And Terry called me and was like, dude, that'd be awesome to have you help. Like, I think it's going to be like mostly you and Maddie and then a bunch of other people with cameras, and trying to like get the after movie ready for yard sale, whatever. And he's like, yeah, you're totally in. And I was like, cool. So does that mean like I'm in, like I can ride? Or he's like, yeah, dude, of course you can ride. Like, no problem. And I was like, all right, sick, perfect. So yeah, that kind of all worked out. And I was like, right on, we got that dialed in. And then I went like full hardo mode. And again, like getting inspired from that like Cuban Lou podcast and just getting fired up from some other things too. But that was definitely a main source. I just started making like a bunch of pitch decks about like what the trip was going to be, potential deliverables, because Jake's plane tickets had him flying into Spain, so he was going to go hang out at Lunar for like a week, and then going up to Amsterdam for Street Jam, and then staying like an extra week and flying out of Amsterdam. Jake had no real idea of how he was going to get to Lunar from the airport or back to the airport.
Has Jake been outside the country before?
No, I don't think so. Maybe like Mexico on a family trip, but no.
But like real outside the country.
Yeah, no. And Jake was talking to this dude, like Juan Carlo, who, like awesome dude.
JCC Moss or what? Yeah.
Yep. He helped like get the whole event together. Like that was definitely happened in large part because of him. But he spends most of his time at Lunar. So he kind of told Jake, like, I got you. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like getting you to the park and getting you back, but like, I'll figure it out. And then Jake just like took that as it was and like didn't follow up. It's like, well, how's it going to work or this or that? So once I booked my ticket, I was like, all right, let's like get this shit dialed in. So I made those pitch decks. I started sending them out. I hopped on a call with Juan Carlo. He was super sick, and he gave me John's phone number, who works at or his email. John is the like owner operator of Lunar Cable Park. So I hit him with the pitch deck, and he got back to me right away. He was super stoked on Violet. That was a winch project that me and Jake had dropped earlier that season, which was super cool because that video only got like 2,000 views, which is rad. It's definitely better than none, but obviously not that many people saw it. So the fact that it was kind of like coming full circle, and the fact that like this wake park owner that we were trying to, go spend time at his park was like stoked on us, and partly because of our resume with that video, definitely helps make it a little worth it. It's like, well, if only 1,500 people see it, that's not great, but like if the right 1,000 people see it, like that's pretty fucking cool. Like it just helps snowball. So yeah, he was super helpful. He put us in contact with some other people and was like, I don't really have a great way to get you guys like to the park, but like once you're here, like I got you. And he really appreciated the kind of like pitch deck, which was just a couple slides of like, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So yeah, like what's on it? You said deliverables. Like what's in that?
So I think I just had a slide for like potential deliverables. So like an Instagram video or tags from like me and Jake both, like while we're at the park. I was planning on doing this like longer form video. So like, a thank you, and then obviously like their logos and branding and park like in the video. And the video is also a little more story driven. So we talk about like each park a little bit. So like all of those things, and then a few others like potential, because I just have all of my video equipment, like if they needed any like marketing assets or anything that wasn't just like people wakeboarding that they probably have a bunch of, I could help them out with that. And pretty much everyone who helped us out like was stoked that I sent the pitch deck, and that was kind of the end of the deliverables being talked about, basically. And then I also put like what we'd like in return. Kind of like we work at a cable. We know how it's like, how it is when somebody just shows up and expects like free riding and a free place to stay. So we kind of said like, this is what we're looking for. We want free riding and a free place to stay, but like, we get it, like how annoying and frustrating this can be. Like we're
what
trying
can we
to
do for you?
Yeah, so these deliverables are some things that we could do, and I think it really just set the vibe off really good with all of the owners and people we talked to. As far as we're not here just trying to like mooch a good time from your park. Like we're stoked to be there, and like we're ready to work, and we want to like you stoked to have us there too.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's kind of what the thing said.
Okay, and then in terms of money, so like, did you ask any brands for money before this trip kicked off?
Yeah, Jake had been talking to some people at Slingshot like early when he first got invited, and they're like, oh, we'll try to help, but I think it's going to be tough. And my sponsors are the same as Jake, so I kind of knew what the answer was going to be like straight away from them. And I was kind of like, whatever, I'll just go make the video. If I can get like reimbursed for some stuff on the back end, right on. As of yet, that has not happened in any way. It's just a fully self-funded project. Me and Jake paid for everything. But once we got there, we got like a ton of help from the cables and the parks that we stayed at. We actually didn't spend $1 on accommodation, so that's pretty good. We were in Europe for like 20 days.
Yeah, and Europe's not like the Philippines where it's, dollars super, super cheap compared to America. So that's huge.
Yeah. So, that's that was kind of like the lead up to the trip.
Yeah. I guess before we get into the trip and the project, like if you were to do it again, or if anyone's thinking about doing something like this, like go to Europe for not Street Jam, just for anything in general, hit a bunch of parks. What would you do? I mean, would you do anything differently? Would you plan it a little bit differently?
Yeah, I guess there were a few things. One was like, I'm super like, sometimes things come up that you can't plan for, but if a little bit more time or research, like you would have learned these things and been able to figure them out, like I'd be really bummed at myself if I was in that situation where, damn, I could have just like paid a little more attention and saved $300 on this rental car or something like that. So one thing was, it said you needed like an international driver's permit to drive in like Germany and Spain, and there was this like big fine if you didn't have it, and all the rental car places were like, you need it to rent a car, and it was a bitch to get. I had to go to like a DMV or something like the day before the trip. It was like $100, and I had to wait in this huge line. It was super annoying. But nobody asked me for that once. No, I don't think anyone even knew what it was. Like I
was gonna say, dude, I thought that your U.S. license would just be chill.
Yeah.
Guess not. Okay, so a little bit. But that's just kind of some of the shit you just learn by knowing. I guess you could ask some people, but
yeah. Overall, like the trip actually went like super smooth. We really dialed it in. I think like when we kind of run through talking about like what the trip looked like, I'll talk about like all the different zones and kind of the positives and negatives of each, but overall, like I think we nailed it. We did like a week in Spain at Lunar. We flew up to Amsterdam, spent 3 days in the northern Holland for street jam and stuff, and then we rented a car and road trip through Germany, which was really cool. It would have been awesome to be able to go further south to Munich, or maybe plan out the flights a little more. You know what? I guess I do have one. Once you're in Europe, the flights to kind of like bounce around in Europe are generally pretty cheap.
Yeah, dude, it's super cheap, I thought, like compared to U.S. domestic flight.
Yeah. But just kind of the way the trip was structured, Jake already had his plane ticket, so I just bought the same ones as him. And then it was kind of a bitch. We were like trying to like rent a car and drive up to Barcelona and just do all this different stuff and change flights. It was really hard, like impossible. We just couldn't do it, like change our flights. Even though we bought the changeable flights, just it was going to be a ridiculous amount to change them. So that's something, maybe plan just a little more and take advantage of like flights within Europe once we're there.
Kind of be flexible once you're there. It sounds like have the ability to be flexible if you want to fly here, fly there, like be able to travel around inside Europe, as you want.
Yeah,
I feel like that's pretty crucial advice for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should dive into. So you guys land. Where'd you say you guys same flight landed in Spain?
Yeah, we landed in Spain, Malaga, so like south of Spain. It's on the Mediterranean Sea, and it's maybe like a 2.5, 3 hour drive to Lunar. So we rented a car, immediately just got in, started driving. Went to the skate park in Barcelona that we had to like Malaga, that we had to jump the fence to get into. Don't really know why it was locked, but it was a super sick park. But it was like, first thing we do when we show up to a foreign country, like do something we're not supposed to. Classic. So yeah, after that we just cruised to Lunar. We got there like in the evening. We actually got there in time for like a little photo shoot and session, which was so good. And we had been DMing John, and he was like, "Yeah, if you guys can get here before the session, right on." Like we show up, we don't really know anyone. I don't have any like particularly like really good mutual friends or Instagram friends with anyone who's there, but obviously it's a cable park. Everyone's super friendly. And we do the photo shoot, goes super well. Meet this guy, Victor, who's actually John's brother. He does like some more day-to-day stuff for Lunar. Super good dude as well. He kind of like hooks us up, and then at the end of the day, we're like chilling. Yannick was there. Yannick Patton.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. That was sick to meet him. And then afterwards, we're kind of like, all right, like, what's up? Where are we staying? He's like, oh, let me find Victor for you. And Victor like takes us in this little. You see people like post stories and stuff from like the balcony at Lunar, and until you're there, anyway, they have a whole like employee housing building with like a really cool kitchen. It was like an older building that had already been there, so they're like actively renovating it. So you don't really see it on social media. One, because it's like people's full-time residence, and they don't some people don't want that on blast. And then also like the building's actively getting renovated, so it's not something you really see a lot. But yeah, it's like a 6-room like apartment for employees, and then they have a rider's room with just like 6 or 7 twin beds. And it's like the whole facility is pretty big, and there's like a huge shared kitchen, and they hooked us up in there. And the whole time, like my jaw was just like on the floor. Like I was so stoked. Like I was definitely expecting like a tent. At worst, like a sleeping bag on the mini ramp.
Yeah.
Like at best, like a nice tent is like what I was thinking rider accommodation was gonna be. So that was that
Sounds
was just
legit, dude. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty like coming from Elevated too. Like Elevated's kind of a dream park, like good vibes, good stuff. But that was like one step up. It was like nicer than where me and Jake live like all the time. Like we share a camper at Elevated.
So if you're someone going to visit Elevated, is that like a place? Can you rent on site there on the property?
Yeah, there's a few like converted containers and like a cabin. There's maybe like places to sleep for 7 or 8 people there, and then you can like always bring a tent or a camper, and there's hotels not too far. But the all the lodging on site there, it's pretty nice. Yeah, probably nicer than where me and Jake
right
live.
Next to the cable for sure. So I got a question. What's the weather at Lunar? Because I feel like I see year-round clips of people riding, and sometimes it looks cold, sometimes it looks warm. So I can't.
Yeah.
What was it like?
I think
what's
it's
the weather there?
like a little warmer than North Carolina, I'd say. Yeah. 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 And that's kind of the vibe. It's probably cold enough where you could not ride, but talking to John like and the owner of the park about like his vision and what he was trying to do and everything, he basically wanted like the wintertime vibes to be like, if you don't have the money or you can't go to Thailand or the Philippines for whatever reason, like you come here for 2 weeks or 2 months at a time and you can, train, like ride every day at like a good park with other people who are motivated to ride.
And it seems like people do that, like legitimately over the winter, like people actually do that, which is sick.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is the rider room for kind of the pro or like heavily sponsored guys. And then also we met someone out there like Joffrey. He also has a YouTube channel, super good dude. He was there with like a couple guys, and he either had a van or they rented a van, and they were there for like a couple weeks, and they were just staying in the van, like because the weather's really nice there in the summer, and they have a spot and like hookups and everything for like campers and everything. Kind of right by the like employee building.
Okay, let's talk setup, because I mean Lunar looks like a lot of fun. So quick run through of the setup, and I mean kind of compare it. You've ridden a lot of parks, so compare it in terms of
so
funness, I guess.
Yeah, me and Jake had never ridden shape obstacles. They're solid. They're buttery. They go. I'd say in some spots you can tell like that maybe unit stuff is like slightly better built, but I'd say I didn't stick on like one shape obstacle once, and I will definitely take like seeing the plastic the teeniest bit warped and not sticking on it like all day over like sticking on a perfectly built feature.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, park was sick, and they had all the shape stuff is like super hackable. Like you look and there's like all these panels on the walls, like it seems like a ridiculous amount, but pretty much every feature like connects to another one in some like weird way. So yeah, the setup was super fun when we got there. It was a pretty big lake for what me and Jake were used to, and no island, or probably about a little bigger than Elevated, like Valdosta size, but no island. So she was choppy. Also, that was our first time riding a Wake Parks cable, which was cool. It worked well. It had a couple things different. It definitely like sounded buttery, and yeah.
Yeah, how are the corners? I mean, because they have those double pulleys, right?
So this park did not. Wake Parks offers that, but they did not have the double pulleys, so I still haven't ridden those. But yeah, overall, like park was sick. Jake did a bunch of air tricks. It looked good. I wouldn't know. But yeah. But the vibe, it would usually... Lunar's in this like weird kind of valley system that's like man-made. It's like a canal going from this like some like lakes and reservoirs like all the way down to the Mediterranean Sea. So basically the thermals like cause that valley to get like really windy every single day. So usually that turns on like 10:30, 11. I think the cable opens at 10. So we got a couple early morning sets. That was sick. And then in the middle of the day, it's usually fairly choppy and fairly busy. Not like unrideably busy, but like both start lines are to the end of like the carpeted dock. So like 5-10 people in each line. It takes a minute. Yeah, and then also the evenings would get really buttery past like 7 p.m. Usually there was another Juan who worked at the park, Juan Liu. He kind of was more of like the cable manager from the vibe I caught.
Juan Luis Focia, is that his name?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, and all these guys are in a crew called like the Spanish Mafia. Yeah, sick dudes, good riders, awesome style. But yeah, so he would usually like let the employees and like me and Jake ride after closing, which was super sick because it'd be like buttery. Everyone just kind of be like waiting around, like looking at Wanaloo, like, end of the day, like, and he'd be like, he'd go and grab his board, and everyone would like dogs, like, just get excited. Yeah. But that was pretty much our vibe in Spain. It was super cool. Lunar's not that far from the Mediterranean Sea. There was no waves when we were there, but we went one day to like a little beach bar and hung out on the beach with some people there, showed us around. All the employees were super friendly. Like overall, we had a great time. Like it was sick.
I've always wanted to go to Lunar. It seems like one of the, most unique parks just because of the location it's in. And then the features look like a ton of fun. I mean, yeah, the one thing I would say is probably the island is a bummer, but if you're doing the morning and night sets, like you get some buttery water and it's all right. So
yeah, and the area there was just like so beautiful. It was like really mountainous. It's kind of deserty, but there were just all these like really cool random caves everywhere. We didn't explore the caves too much, but like you just be driving and you just like see a bunch of holes in the side of the mountain. You're like, holy shit, those are caves. That's crazy. Like, people used to live there.
That's pretty wild, dude. Go spelunking in those caves, bud.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next? What's next after Lunar?
Yeah. So we drive back to Malaga and then we fly up to Amsterdam. And like literally the night before our flight, I was kind of like, all right, like we still don't have any. I just wasn't really thinking about it because they said we had accommodations for the wakeboard street jam. But me and Jake flew in the day before. Because we were flying, we didn't want to get there the same day that like we're riding. So I was like, shit, we got to like find somewhere to stay. And some of the guys in the event were staying at Mick's house, who is, I think he's from the UK, but he'd lived in Holland a long time. Super nice dude, also a ripper on a wakeboard. He was also helping kind of run and facilitate the wakeboard street jam. So basically, we get to the airport in Amsterdam. We figure out this like train to get to Rotterdam, which is like a 40-minute drive, 40-minute train ride. We get to the Rotterdam bus station, and then we're waiting for Juan Carlo, who both me and Jake have talked with on the phone some, but like never met. And he had the Lunar van. He drove the van all the way from Lunar up there, which is like far, like 15, 20, it's far. It's all the way across Europe, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, he picks us up and we're like, what's up, dude? Nice to meet you. Hell yeah, like good stuff, thank you. And then he drives us to Mick's house. We're like, what's up, Mick? Nice to meet you, thank you. And we all crashed at his mom's house. And it was me, Jake, Maddie, Hayden Berg, Terry Bailey, Luis Batista, another like Lunar guy, super good, rad style. And I think that might have been it. Oh, and then Juan Carlo too. So whatever, like 8, 9 dudes all just like crashing on the floor at Mick's mom's house in Holland. And she was awesome. She was really rad. But it was just so cool. Like, what's up, dude? Nice to meet you. Like, thanks for picking us up from the airport. And then like, what's up, dude? Thanks for letting us sleep at your mom's house. Like, it's pretty cool.
Dude, that is one of the really cool things. Like I talked about earlier, but that's one of the cool things about wakeboarding. It's like you can do that. Like you can absolutely make these connections, and like you would do that for somebody if they flew into Elevated, and Jake would do that. Like
yeah,
it just works like that with the cool guys. So it's, I don't know, it's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And then so then the next day we pack up, we head to the camping spot for the event, which is basically like a campground with a bunch of like little cabin houses with like bunk beds in it. So that's where me and Jake stayed for the duration. A couple people slept in their vans. But overall, a super good vibe. It was a really like creative way to get affordable housing for everyone, and they still had some like budget for the event left over with for prize money and stuff. And no wakeboarder is used to living lavish, especially any who winch. So I was fine. Nobody was bummed on the accommodations. Like it was solid.
Yeah, you should put a video in because I thought I saw it in one of your vlogs. It looked like a cool little like huts kind of lining a street or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know. It looked rad.
Yeah, I'll put something in. But so yeah, that was super rad. And then the event went super good. There's tons of footage out there. If you want a quick recap, subscribe to the Patreon, watch the video. There's a sick recap. Maddie Muncy also did like a more full format kind of after movie. It's not out yet, right?
I feel like it's not because we saw it at yard sale, and I feel like I would have seen it if it was out by now. So maybe it isn't, but we should fact check that and see.
Yep. But yeah,
we watched why it wouldn't be, but
yeah, but we watched it at yard sale and it was super good. So you'll be able to watch that at some point. But yeah, the event was awesome. Day one, they weren't able to get any official permission from the city to hit any of these spots. So basically, I think, I don't have the full story here. It's not really, but kind of cliff notes. I think they had a list of spots, but Terry, like if you know Terry Bailey, like the man's just the workhorse. He's got it dialed, and he had just a huge like list of winch spots. And I think even talking to him, he was like not gonna show him necessarily all the best spots. Then he got there and was like hyping up for the event. He's like, "Oh, I gotta show him all the stuff." So they all checked out the spots and decided where to run the event. And yeah, the first day was like pretty chill canal, maybe an hour or two into the event. Cops come, we're like, yeah, what's going on here? Mick talks to him because he like speaks Dutch and lives there, like best person to speak to the Dutch police. And they're kind of like, all right, like we don't love this, but okay. And they leave, we're like, sick, Mick, great job. And everyone's kind of like on their like pins and needles because we're like, this could just be a flop. We could all come to the Netherlands, like we came all the way from America. Yeah, you don't know. Like, you could just get kicked out of all 3 spots and only get 3 clips. And everyone came there, and, like, all the sponsor money went into it. So it was kind of like, And, yeah, cops leave. Like, an hour or two later, the water police show up because we're in this canal. Kind of same deal. They're like, we don't love that you're here, but, like, I guess, whatever. We keep riding. And then like 2 hours later, the cops show back up and they're like, you got to leave. Like, you guys are done. Like, we're getting calls or whatever they said. Yeah. And Mick goes and talks to him again and is like bargaining with him. And like, you can kind of see him changing a little bit. And the cliff notes I got was basically they're like, okay, we're going to leave. But they took like Mick's information, like his phone number and his email and his ID and everything. They're like, we're going to like kind of run this up the chain. And there's a chance that you could all get tickets for both being in the canal and then also like speeding in because you're going whatever.
Slow, no wake, whatever, and you're going faster.
Yeah, in the canal. And he's like, that's like a whatever, like a €200 fine like per person for each thing. So like you could be on the hook for all of that. And Mick was just like, okay, like, all good. And I haven't talked to him, but I doubt anything happened. But, like, just big shout out. Like, without him finessing that the right way, like, day one goes way less smooth, for sure.
Yeah, sounds like he was crucial. So the one thing on that is I was talking to some people in the States here about that was what they were leery of in terms of the event is there didn't sound like they were any permits. So it's tough, understandably, for someone to not be like, okay, I'm going to go all the way to Europe for an event that doesn't have permits on something that is usually, like, kind of sketchy, but sounds like the homie took care of it, no problem. But I mean, I would love to see permits in the future just to make it more of like, obviously it's a red, it's hoops to jump through and red flags, but like it would make it that much better. But it sounds like it wasn't a big deal for you guys, which is awesome.
For sure. And I think they tried to get permits and were actually like, they got a few steps up the ladder and then somebody just gave them like a hard no. But hopefully now that it went off and they have the video, that can help them for next year if they do it, which I think they're planning to.
Okay.
Yeah, but overall, super sick. Day one went off. It was cool, too, just having that many people to spot. There was whatever, the 20-something riders, and then an additional, like, 20 to 30, like, spectators, just people, like, from the Netherlands who are into wakeboarding or, like, whatever, friends, girlfriends. And it was rad just having all those people at the spot. And it made it way easier when people walked up on us. We just, like, looked more legit. So people just had a generally friendly demeanor.
And you guys had those, like, I don't know if you just said that, but the matching, like, jerseys or high-vis vests or whatever. So that, I mean, I don't know. It looks like an official thing that's going down. From the live streams I was watching, it was like, oh, I mean, we got a huge crew of people. We got cameras everywhere. It looks like it's being coordinated. Like, I don't know. Just something cool to watch if I was walking by. Like, I wouldn't think anything of it. They're doing something wrong because it looks so official. For
sure. That was really cool. And then, that was kind of the day one. Day two was a different spot. Oh, it was cool, too. All 3 spots we hit were, like, mirrored. So you could hit it, like, left or right foot forward, backside. It was cool. A little, like, novelty. Pretty rad.
I mean, that's kind of bringing, like, the snow into it, right? Because, like, if you go session hander, like, you can build on either side of it and like you can hit it. So that's awesome. I noticed that too. And I feel like a lot of people probably did because it's just a super cool aspect of it.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, and then day 2 was this little like walking bridge, and that was solid. Tons of people were biking through there that day, but nobody like really stopped or gave us a hard time. I think everyone just assumed that we like had to be allowed to be there because there were so many fucking people on that bridge, and everyone was trying really hard, like Terry and Juan the night before, to be like, don't come unless you're actively riding. Like we want to keep it as chill as possible. Nobody, like no spectators. Nobody gave a fuck. Like random people showed up. They like put a tarp over this area. Just there was a ton of people there. But it ended up working out, super good vibes, and there were just so many of us that like everyone just had to assume that like we were allowed to be there because we were just running it.
Yeah,
and,
dude.
And they did a really good job of there was like caution tape and little like signs and stuff. Like if the city was putting on or we did have permission, I don't think we would have done anything differently. Like
yeah, that's what it would have looked like. Yeah, for sure. Okay, is this the one that Hato got? He tried a 1-footer and just. No can-dos, Phil.
He probably did it 10 times, and he just didn't. He was like kind of butt checking the landing or like not getting the grab good, and then just one time he just kind of caught on the way up and just, sacked that's probably in wakeboarding's overall history, for the history of all of wakeboarding, that's going to be the number 1 sack of all time. It's
gotta be, dude, because it's just, how often is that going to happen? Personally, wouldn't have been my trick of choice there, but that's why you love to see it.
You love to see it.
Yeah, there were some good pulls on that. I don't know who it was. Maybe Dom got like legit full pull all the way up, all the way to the end, like maybe almost too far, but it looked like a great spot.
Yeah, Rudy and Katinka also got like awesome hits there. Yeah, it was tight. Me and Jake got to hit it like riding doubles. We were first heat of the day, so that was sick. Like dream come true. Like riding doubles at a spot like with your homie, like 2 sculpture winches. Oh, sculpture winches.
Yeah,
fucking
talk about
sick.
the electric winch a little bit. Yeah.
Dude, they had it so dialed. So the guys from Sculpture, Lucas Seuss, if you know wakeboarding and you know Europe at all, like you know that name for sure. Him and Yan came, and that was really cool. I met Yan in the Philippines, just really rad wake skater homie. But yeah, they came up. I believe they had 3 winches, maybe even 4. Like they had 2 winches and then 2 backup winches, I think. So like they were dialed. They had tons of batteries. They were ready. The pole was buttery. I've ridden the Moto winch and the Rewinch. I wouldn't say like a game-changing difference or anything, but they ran those winches so long and would go straight from one battery to another. We didn't have one rope break, if anything happened to the winch, it was fixed in like a minute. And it was like 400 pulls throughout the weekend. It was kind of insane. Like those things, they just work. They work well. They look relatively simple to operate, and they feel good riding on them. Real easy to adjust the speed. It was sick.
Yeah, dude. I feel like we've talked about this countless times, like off camera, but like that is exactly how you make street wakeboarding like attainable, feasible, and doable. Is having an electric winch that's light, easy, good pull, can mount it anywhere. It's quiet. Like we've finally reached that point, and I feel like the Street Jam is an event that actually showed that to its like fullest potential of like it's totally possible, totally doable.
Yeah, it was rad too. It was like Rudy's first time winching, or maybe he'd hit like a 1 or 2 like small spots, and a few other kids too. And like just to like see them like roll up and just like kill it, like get some of the best hits of the event. Like that's something I couldn't imagine, like us using the shitty gas winches that would break all the time with the crew who didn't really know what we were doing. Like that's just a whole different way to kind of enter the arena of winching.
Totally different. What a last name too, Tall Boys. Love that. Rudy's sick. He rips. Day 2, what was the spot? Day 2 was that spot where you kind of talked about it. What was day 3?
Yeah, so third day was like the waterfall spot. That was really cool because it was like, it wasn't like downtown, but it was like a major area. Like we were able to walk to like several food locations. And if you've ever been to a winch spot, you know, like, or street snowboarding, skating, how sick it is to be able to get food midday or go like do stuff, get stuff. And it wasn't like one shitty Taco Bell. It was like downtown basically, or whatever, in a city. So that was really cool. It was like waterfall handrail. You could hit it from either side. And just, yeah, overall the, hang on. I don't know what's happening. How do we go back? There we go. Yeah, third day vibes were super good. And by that point, too, at least the way I was feeling, the first 2 days went so well. I was like, even if we get kicked out first pole, this event was still a huge success. Like, we did it. Everyone came. A bunch of clips happened. Nobody had been majorly hurt yet. And this spot was debatably the sketchiest. So, yeah, that was kind of a factor. Is like, well, we kind of already did it. Like, we did the event. It went great. If day 3 goes off, like that's
kind of like a bonus day in a sense was everyone's vibe. Okay.
Yeah, mine for sure. Yeah. I wasn't even really planning on riding. I was like, maybe if I'm convinced, we'll see. Yeah, a bunch of people were just like walking by, and I mean there were literally apartments that like look at this spot, so it was pretty cool. A bunch of like random spectators and a bunch of people just like getting exposed to the sport for the first time. So yeah, that was all rad, and it went off. Nobody really got majorly hurt, except for probably the biggest injury was Maddie Muncy while filming. Ended up just like tacoing this like piece of rebar in the water, and got pretty smoked. And RIP to the cam too.
Yikes.
Yeah. But other than that, it went off. Nobody really got hurt. The whole event happened. It was great. After that, we go back to the campsite. We do like a final kind of night. And I didn't really know they were going to do awards, but I think there was like 3 or 4 awards. They had us vote for like 2 or 3 of them, and then they just picked one of them. Yeah, it was rad. There was like a best overall, like a best, like most improved or like biggest surprise, like kind of vibe. Most creative hit. Yeah, I think that was it. On the
and Jake
awards.
took
Maybe
down most creative. I thought there was 3, maybe 4, but it was a few.
Yeah, I feel like Joe won something too. So I don't know. Maybe just like best hit. I think there was a best hit and a most creative.
Okay. I want to know your opinion because you watched winching for 3 days. You've seen a lot of winching. Who do you think was like the most standout guy and girl? You know, in terms of just overall impression for the 3 days. That's maybe surprised you or whatever.
Honestly, I feel like I voted for Rudy because I was really surprised at how well he did. But going back and watching the footage, like even the little edit I put together, I was putting in all the names for the titles, and I just kept typing Maddie's name. And I was like, dude, Maddie, because he won best overall. He actually got so many sick hits. And for those who don't know, Maddie Muncy did help put on the event as well. He was like one of the main guys along with Mick, Juan Carlo, Terry. That was kind of the main squad there with a bunch of other people helping. But, yeah, Maddie. Like, going back and watching the footage. Dude, the kid's just
for the streets, man. Maddie and Jake Flynn, like, I mean, there's a lot of names, but, like, Maddie Muncy is... He kind of owns the streets right now. I feel like that's not even a hot take. Like,
I would agree. Yeah, he was on. And then, dude, Katinka, like, I mean... She got a couple hits that were, like, way better than shit I could have done. Like, at the second spot, she did, like, an accidental, like, front board to 50 back 1 and got, like, real locked into this rail. And she killed it. Like, she held her own. Jolena was also there. Those were the 2 girls at the event. Same deal. Like, absolutely killed it. Put some, like, good, stylish hits together. Yeah, it was super rad to, like, have them there. And I think they killed it and, like, represented women's wakeboarding really well. And if you've ever been, like, at a winch spot or... I can't speak from, like, a female's perspective, but they were just, like, one of the crew. It was like, oh, sick. Like, they're riding now. Like, right on. Cool. That was my take, at least, being at the event. So, yeah, I would say, like, Katinka and Maddie, like, absolutely crushed it.
Okay. Wrapped up the event. I mean, what happens next? You guys?
Yeah, we party that night in whatever, Rotterdam. Fun stuff. And then we cruised back. We did, like, a day exploring Amsterdam, which was rad. That was something I've always wanted to do. I've been sober for a couple years, so we went into some coffee shops. I didn't smoke any weed in Amsterdam, which, like, 15-year-old me was bummed on, but 25-year-old me was hyped.
So, yeah. How much you spend in the red light district?
Oh, all my money. That's where the whole car went. No, yeah, but we met up with our friend Brian Poston, too, who... He's from Michigan, like been in the wakeboard scene for a long time, really talented photographer. He was at the Street Jam for the entirety of the event, killing it, taking a bunch of sick photos. There's a bunch of rad media people there. He was one of them. We explored Amsterdam with like him and then Yannick also. And at night, me, Brian, and Jake like did take a walk through the red light district. And like I was ready to spend some dough, like if I saw anything that caught my eye. Like I was about it.
Nothing did though?
No, dude, we were walking around and just everyone's just tons of makeup, real plasticky looking, like really like it just wasn't my vibe. That just wasn't. And it was funny. I like mentioned that. I like said that out loud once we like finished our lap and was like, I was ready to spend some money, but it's not. It just felt weird. And they're like literally in windows. Like they look like Barbie dolls in boxes. It's like super objectifying. Like, I don't know. I thought legal prostitution, like maybe it would just feel ethically okay once I was there. It didn't.
Yeah, the whole in the window thing is, I mean, I've never been, that's something that I probably wouldn't want to watch a documentary on because I feel like I can already picture what is going to be in that documentary, and it's just not great vibes. But all right.
But it was funny. I mentioned that like as we're all walking up, and Jake's like, oh, I saw someone. I'm like, what do you mean you saw someone? He's like, dude, this one girl like covered in tattoos. She had this mask on. He's like, that's why I told you guys we got to keep walking here.
He's going to start spending some money. Oh man. Okay. So what after that? How much longer you got left in Europe then? After
we had another like 7 days. So we got back to the airport at Amsterdam, and we rented a car and just started driving south to Germany. We didn't really know like where we were gonna stay or what we were gonna do. That was just kind of the loose plan, is we were gonna go to Germany. And then Reen ended up telling us, like Skitz-Reen, like super good dude. He's like, oh, like you guys can come stay with me. He lives not far from like Langenfeld, the bricks and everything. So we went and crashed with him at his parents' house. Super like crazy nice hospitality. Like Oma, like his grandma, would come over every morning and like make us a baller breakfast. So yeah, we just rode some of those like iconic German parks. So day one, we went to Wasserski Langenfeld. That was okay. That was the only cable pass we had to buy when we were there. Everyone else hooked us up. And we didn't even ask Langen.
Why was it just okay, though? Why was it just okay?
The park itself, like the features and everything were fun. Obviously, there's tons of features there. It was more of like a corporate vibe. It was like going to a Vail Resort, kind of.
Okay.
Like still fun, but it was really cool. I'm really glad we went. And that place makes money, for sure. That's like their goal. A lot of wake parks are like, they'd like to make enough money to take some home and like let people make some careers, but it's more about like the stoke and the sport. That place is like, this is a well-running business. So that was cool to see. That's something I'd never, might not sound great saying, but I've never really seen in wakeboarding.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, like, because they got, what, 4 cables there, full size, or 3 or something like that?
Maybe
crazy?
even more, like 4 or 5. So we, like, walked around some of the lakes. Only one is open to the public, though. The rest are, like, rentals for parties and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is way different business model than the U.S. And I was really, really, like, my European adventures, I really wanted to see a hot girl wakeboarding or skiing on the cable with no vest and helmet. I didn't see it there, which was a bit of a bummer. Everyone had at least a vest on. But yeah, I did. It came true in Triolago, though, so we were good.
Okay. What other parks you hit after?
So we went to Langenfeld, and then we went to the Bricks. Bricks were so good.
Does it live up to the hype, dude?
Such a fun park, for sure. It's really tiny, like Terminus tiny. Have you ever been to Terminus?
That's the best, though. Yeah, dude, I have. And that's my favorite size park.
Action tiny. It's tiny. But it's super fun. I love it. And it's like evenly spaced straights-ish. So it just flows really nice. Similar to West Rock, similar vibes, I felt. Just how the park flowed. And just so rad. We ran into our friends Corey and Ashley, who are like from California. They were just happened to be on their own European adventure, so that was really cool. And yeah, Bricks was sick. And then Connie, like Levendorf, you know Connie.
Yeah, Connie, I call him. Connie Levendorf. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah. He rips from Germany. He invited us to like Wake Park Infinite, which is like or Infinite, I don't know. But you've probably seen some clips of it. It's like got it's in between 2 swimming pools. It reminds me of the, what was that event called that used to happen? Wake the Line.
The Line, yeah.
It reminded me of that setup. So we roll up there the next day. It's like kind of a rainy day. We show up. There's like 1 car in the pool area and the gate's unlocked. So I just unlock the gate and I'm like, oh, it's probably Connie there. It wasn't. He was like 40 minutes behind us. But the people show up. They're really cool. It really was reminiscent of Gyptopia for me. Just like the overall vibes and the way it was like laid out. We rode there. That was probably my most fun set. I had a lot of really good sets. That was probably the best one, though. It was like raining, and then the sun came out, and it was beautiful and backlit, and just like 2.0 quick hits on a swimming pool. Just the people who were there, like running the parks and the camps were just like super stoked to have us there. And I guess they like tear it down during the summer and then just have it up during the cold season because it's like a swimming pool. Like people go there and swim in it. It's at like a summer camp type deal. But that was really sick, dude. Setup was so good. Vibes were good. And we were able to just like move some trash cans around and do some other stuff. That
just sounds like just straight up fun boarding, dude. Just like such a good time.
No doubt. And then we went to Wake Park Romand, which is like just outside of Germany in the Netherlands. That park was sick as well. The owner was super rad. The whole crew there. Katinka, Jolena, Corey and Ashley, and then I'm blowing it forgetting their names, but a few other people like met us there as well. And it was just so good. We were the only people who rode, really. It got pretty glassy in the evening. Super fun cable, good features. It was just so rad being from the U.S., being able to get to all of these parks like within an hour and some change of Reen's house. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's really is like... you can't even compare it to ski. I haven't been to Europe in terms of like touring the parks, but you can't even compare it to like ski resorts in the U.S. because to bop around ski resorts, there's only a couple places in the U.S. that there's a ton in a like short distance away from each other. But it seems like in Europe, it's like there's parks all around every corner and they're all different and they're all unique. And it just, I don't know, it seems awesome. No wonder the culture there is so strong in terms of wakeboarding. But all right, so
yeah,
I mean,
and then.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah. After that, we cruised down to Wake Park Trio Lago, which we had been like talking to the owner, Jerry, and he hit us up with like his business partner, Steven, because he was out of town for like the German Nationals or European, something like that. So yeah, Steven and his son Lewis were like at the park, and there was like a crew of, I don't know how old they were, but like 17 to 22-year-olds who just like live at the park in campers. Super rad. Again, reminded me of like elevated Gyptopia vibes. And yeah, riding there was awesome. Day one was like kind of rainy day vibes and we were really the only people there. It wasn't super busy. So fun. And then when the weekend rolled around, it was like crazy busy. Like water skiers as far as I could see. And it wasn't freezing cold, but like me and Jake were in full suits. And there's just like girls in bikinis learning how to water ski, like falling every try off the, not every try, but like falling a lot.
Yeah, getting wet.
Yeah. And yeah, there was even like a whole crew of people that rented the cable at 8 a.m. to learn how to water ski on it. Like insane.
I mean, do you know why that is? Like quickly, do you have any idea or is it just totally different culture? Can't even understand it compared to the US.
I think the cold just matters less in Germany from talking to different Europeans from all over. That was the vibe I got. Water skiing is easier. Most people, if they seem somewhat, pretty much everyone got off the dock first try on the skis, because you know what happens on the wakeboard? You pull the handle in and you fall back. On the skis,
you twist it up, so yeah.
On the skis, you pull the handle in and you fall backwards and you butt check, you get a quick enema, and then you're just like, as long as you don't let go, you just stand up and then you're riding. Yeah. So you get off the dock pretty much first try, and you don't always make it around the...
Water skis need to come to U.S. cable parks. Like,
dude,
to teach people how to do it.
Okay. Yeah. I've talked to a lot of park owners. Nobody's down. I don't get why, dude. It's so much better watching that happen. Langenfeld had a bunch too. You saw some people doing it like, yeah.
That's the thing is, yeah, okay. Anyways, continue. We don't need to talk about
at Lunar, too, you had to take a lap on skis or the kneeboard before they'd let you wakeboard, which I know there's, like, mixed feelings about, like, making people do certain things, but it makes sense. It worked. I watched it work.
Yeah, dude, at the end of the day, if you're like, dude, I totally can't do it, okay, then take one lap on the skis or the kneeboard and then go grab a wakeboard. Like, whatever, dude. Who cares? Yeah. Okay. All right, so you hit a bunch of parks. I think we talked about the project, so... I mean, unless there's anything else you want to touch on Europe.
No, I mean, that was pretty much it. That was the whole thing. Left my GoPro in the rental car on the way back. That sucked, but whatever. It bugged.
Ouch. That's tough.
Oh, I guess another travel hack. Shout out Katinka for this one. I was just like complaining that I lost my GoPro and I was all like, wah, crying. And she's like, well, did you get travel insurance? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm pretty sure travel insurance will cover it. I'm like, even if I just lost it? And she's like, yeah, I've like left my phone on a train and got it reimbursed. And I was like, oh shit. I fill out the little thing, dude, and like the next day I got like a Zelle for the amount of a GoPro in my account. Like,
dude, you got to use insurance, man. They take advantage of you every place you can. So if you can get one back on them, you got to do it.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt.
Okay, so you're filming all this whole time though. throughout all these parks, the events, everything. So when it comes to, you got everything put together. I mean, not everything put together, but you got all the footage. Did you have the vision beforehand when you were filming in terms of what you wanted this project to look like, or did that happen after?
Kinda. I had some like random scribbles. I definitely wanted it to look different than the stuff I had made before. I got a new camera. I got a GH6, which isn't like a crazy nice camera, but a way different vibe than the cameras I had been using. I wanted it to be more cinematic, like still be a board sports edit, but feel a little more like a travel film. And I wanted some kind of story, whether it was like me and Jake talking as we went to these parks, or like voiceover after the fact, or whatever kind of like worked. But it was more just a real like loose direction that I wanted to lean more like cinematic travel style video, like things people could ooh and ah at, easier for like parents to watch or random people who find it on YouTube and can hopefully get stoked on the sport, was kind of the goal, versus the real core focus stuff that I've made in the past.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're talking a different piece of the puzzle when it comes to wakeboarding. And I know that me and you have talked about how you gotten a lot of inspiration from like Videograss and like those kind of, like you're saying, core films. And now this is leaning in towards something that's more, I don't know, digestible for the average viewer, which it sounds like is what you're going for, which is, I think, will be super cool to see.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's a big part of it too, just seeing my influences shift. I used to watch a lot of skate videos filmed on the VX, and we did tape. We filmed the whole thing on tape, and I was hyped on that. And then being influenced more by snowboard videos, getting those same cameras, kind of recreating that vibe. And recently I've been more entertained by like just human story stuff. So like North Face or Patagonia films, stuff where people go do like first ascents or descents on mountains. Stuff like that, where I can like attach to the person as like a human and not just as like an explorer, a mountain climber, a snowboarder, a wakeboarder. So that's what I was trying to like focus more on, and trying to like gain that skill a little bit more through this project.
Okay, so when someone's going into watching this, you kind of got to shift, at least the people who have watched some of your other stuff in terms of the movies and stuff, you kind of got to shift your perspective of what you're going to anticipate when watching it, right? Because it's not, bangers after bangers of, street wakeboarding. It's a story that you're telling in more of like a mini movie kind of thing. Is that kind of what, am I off base there, or pretty close? Okay.
No, I'd say so for sure. I definitely have a different target audience. Like I want random people, the thumbnail to pop up and them click it and like be entertained and sucked in. And really when I think back and reflect on it, yeah, I watched a lot of videos growing up, but like that pivotal age, like 10 to 13, 14, when I really got sucked into the sport, the films that got me there were like Art of Flight and Defy. Which if you don't know, Art of Flight's like the most popular snowboard movie ever, super cinematic, lots of story. Defy is basically the wakeboard version of that. It's like the Danny Harf story. Those are the videos that I watched hundreds of times, and that really made me fall in love. And I just wasn't in tune enough with the culture to watch like the sick wake skate winching videos.
Yeah.
But, I typed in wakeboarding on iTunes and Defy popped up and I bought it. And while that's not the like media environment we live in necessarily today, it's like these are still the things that people can identify with that don't eat, sleep, and breathe it. And
100%,
to get people to eat, sleep, and breathe it, you have to have those other things like pulling them in.
You got to get them into the funnel, dude. And like these projects are huge to get people into the funnel. And I don't know, I feel like people have talked about longer projects, and right now I think for some reason the consensus is that like they're dead. And I think that's just stupid, to be honest, because you go on YouTube. How often do you watch a 10 to 20 minute YouTube video? All the time, dude. That length of video is still huge. So there's no reason wakeboarding can't fit into that length of video, or snowboarding or skating or surfing or whatever. You just have to make it entertaining enough for people to actually want to watch. So, I think people shouldn't give up on that length of video project just because people are making TikToks and shorts and reels and all that. Like there's still a huge place for this. People are still consuming this length of content. So I'm stoked to see it. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to touch on in terms of the project itself? I mean, I guess obviously all the obvious stuff like date it's coming out, where to find it, and all that stuff. But
yeah, no, I mean that was pretty much it. If you want to check out this project, you're watching on my YouTube channel. Again, Hunter's Patreon and the Grab Matters website will be linked in the description below. Check that stuff out. And if you haven't watched any of the podcast episodes, I got one. So start with that episode and then watch all of the other ones too, because he's killing it. Super entertaining podcast, and just making wakeboarding and these conversations more accessible, which is rad.
Absolutely, dude.
But yeah,
All
I
right.
think that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else right now.
Okay. You said springtime on your YouTube though. So this is going to go up on your YouTube as well as my Patreon. And then you said we're going to drop the project on the Patreon a little bit earlier. And then whenever you kind of decide you want to drop it in the springtime,
I think we'll upload the video to your Patreon hopefully sometime in the next like week or two. So around New Year's or even a little bit earlier of 2024. And then in March, probably like late March, the video will be available for everyone to enjoy on my YouTube channel.
Beautiful. Love to see
Yeah.
it. Awesome. I'm stoked to see it. So yeah, if you do want to see it, check out that Patreon. Obviously, like, comment, subscribe to this channel that we're on right now.
Oh, yeah. You know the vibes. Definitely do that.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, yeah. If that wraps it up on my end, if that's all you got on your end.
Dude,
that went a lot longer than we thought, but it happens.
It does happen, and it did happen. But that was good. I think that was entertaining and solid, and hopefully anyone who was curious about the European travels, that was entertaining for them.
Yeah, I think that's a good recap on the Street Jam, too. You should do the thing where you do I'll tell you after. Never mind. All right.
All right, dude. 6
All right. See you, man. Bye.
Yep.